wasn't gonna sing about it, but no, said I wasn't gonna sing about it, but what the Lord has done for me. You ought to have been there when He saved my soul. You ought to have been there when He wrote my name on the roll. I'll keep walking and I'll keep talking and I'll keep singing and I'll keep shouting what the Lord has done for me. Hey, 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 said I wasn't gonna shout. You ought to have been there when He saved my soul. You ought to have been there when He wrote my name on the roll. I'll keep walking and I'll keep talking and I'll keep singing and I'll keep shouting what the Lord has done for me. Hey, 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 love the energy. This one also has some energy too. These are the days of Elijah, declaring the word of the Lord. And these are the days of your servant Moses, righteousness being restored. And though these are days of great trial, of famine and darkness and sword, still we are the voice in the desert, crying, prepare ye the way of the Lord. Behold, He comes, riding on the clouds, shining like the sun. At the trumpet call, so lift your voice. It's the year of Jubilee, and out of Zion's hill salvation comes. And these are the days of Ezekiel, the dry bones becoming as flesh. And these are the days of your servant David, rebuilding a temple of praise. And these are the days of the harvest, the fields are as white in your world, and we are the laborers in your vineyard, declaring the word of the Lord. Behold, He comes, riding on the clouds, shining like the sun. At the trumpet call, so lift your voice. It's the year of Jubilee, and out of Zion's hill salvation comes. Behold, He comes, riding on the clouds, shining like the sun. At the trumpet call, so lift your voice. It's the year of Jubilee, and out of Zion's hill salvation comes. There's a stirring deep within me. When I see my gracious Savior face to face, when all is done, is that His voice I am hearing? Come away, my precious one.
How's your guys' Saturday been so far? I'm tired, to be honest with you. It's been a long day. But I've been really excited about this theme this year. When Ryan asked me to do a lesson, I was like, eh. I did a lesson last year, you know. It's pretty nerve-wracking sometimes, and I guess, you know, ironically, I just kind of felt called out to do one, so I was like, well. Anyways, I'm going to be talking about Paul today, and when I was thinking of a theme of what I should talk about, it just stood out to me a lot. Saul's a man with not only a troubled past, or I guess you could say Paul's a man with not only a troubled past, but a completely separate identity. And I believe is one of the most impactful transformation stories in the Bible. And just from one of the most hostile people targeting Christians and Christianity in its whole, that just had a transformation like no other and became one of its greatest advocates, right? Paul, a lot of the times, I think of Paul because I feel like a lot of times I feel disqualified for the things I'm pushing towards in life. And it's because, you know, I tend to fall short a lot, and I don't want to, I feel like it's not my place to do certain things. And that's why Paul's story really called out to me when I was thinking of it, because although I may have not done, you know, persecuted a whole church or anything to that extreme, I still relate in a way of, you know, difference, and it just, Paul's story just really proves that even if you fall short, that you're able to persevere through with God's promise. And I mean, Paul's the author of 13 books in the New Testament. I have a little blip here because I just wanted to highlight a lot of the things that he talks about. Obviously, I'm not going to be able to go through and tell you guys about every single book, but I just wanted to give you what I thought spoke to me from each book of what he was trying to communicate. Romans, he speaks of unification of the church and the spreading of the gospel. 1 Corinthians, he teaches Christians how to live in a non-Christian world. 2 Corinthians, he shows how God's power is made in perfect weakness. Galatians, he emphasizes salvation through Christ and not the old law. Philippians, he encourages joy in all circumstances. Colossians, he sets the foundation of the church, which can be only through Christ Jesus. 1st and 2nd Thessalonians, he gives encouragement to live lives that please God. 1 Timothy, he teaches leadership in the church and warns against false doctrine. 2 Timothy, he calls Timothy to have strength and faith through hardship. Titus, he encourages living a godly life with grace as the foundation. Philemon, he demonstrates the power of love and forgiveness. And Hebrews, he declares Jesus' power above all and the importance of God's word. Now, each one of these books I could go and talk about for a long time, let alone I could take one verse out of each book and I could probably talk about it all day, especially with how good at rambling I am. But I didn't really want to focus on the Paul, right? I feel like sometimes once you find faith in God, for me at least, once you are with God, it sometimes seems it's a lot easier to be able to share His word. So that's why I wanted to focus on the transformation of Saul. I'm going to read from Acts. If you want to follow along, it's going to be Acts 8:3. But Saul began to destroy the church. Going from house to house, he dragged off both men and women and put them in prison. Hindsight's 20/20, right? We know the story. We know God's still working with this story. But if we take, away the vision we have and we look at this from a different scope, we can see, and we read to the next verse. It then says, "Those who had been scattered preached their word wherever they went." And so for me, when I go throughout this story of Paul, a lot of the things I see is God taking the worst and turning it into something beautiful, such as spreading his own word, right? I don't think there's necessarily something greater than that, being able to turn something so what I would see as corrupt and evil into something that is part of God's plan. And I'm not gonna read the rest of the chapter, but I do encourage you guys to go back and read it for yourselves, because I do think it is really important. But the main point I got from this is that even though we go through hardship and struggle, we can still push through and preach the good word, and that's through any circumstance too. I don't think you necessarily have to be up here teaching in front of a bunch of people with your face bright red in order to spread the word. I think it can be in any circumstance, whether you're in school, whether you're at work. And I think it just starts with simple things, something that's small. The story of Paul, is a pretty drastic thing, which sometimes makes it hard to relate, as I would hope most of you don't persecute your brothers and sisters. I do know that we all struggle with anxiety. We struggle with depression. We struggle with things that make us feel like we're not enough. And I mean, that goes for everyone. In our small group, we're talking about introverts and extroverts. I was actually outnumbered. We only have 2 extroverts in my group, and all the introverts were like clanning together, and I got an Uno reverse card on me. So, but it's just one of those things that you just got to remember, the simple thing of just talking to people, smiling at someone who looks like they're not having a good day, is something that can change the whole outlook of somebody's path. Now, for me, one of the things I struggle with a lot, as a lot of my friends know, is stubbornness. Yeah. Michelle, being stubborn herself, knows that all too well. Well, being stubborn isn't necessarily an issue, because I feel like a lot of the disciples were stubborn in their faith. And even as they were being stoned, they were stubborn and held to what they believed in. And I think it's my ego that turns my stubbornness into not only a hindrance of my faith, but the people around me faith. Because as we go through this journey with our family, with our church, it's not just about you, right? And when I was asked to do this lesson, and I didn't want to do it because, it's just a lot of pressure, and I get anxious sometimes, but then I thought in my head, well, it's not really about me, And so that's why it's so important for us to heed the opportunities that we have, to take them and just run with them, really. I'm going to read in Acts 9 now, 1-9. Meanwhile, Saul was still breathing out murderous threats against the Lord's disciples. I'm going to continue reading, but I just want to point out, in the Hebrew translation, it's read as breathing in, which means that the very breath of Saul, what was his oxygen, the very essence of how he lived, was his hate for Christians. He went to the high priest and asked him for letters to the synagogues in Damascus, so that if he found any there who belonged to the way, whether men or women, he might take them as prisoners to Jerusalem. As he neared Damascus on his journey, suddenly a light from heaven flashed around him. He fell to the ground and heard a voice say to him, "Saul, Saul, why do you persecute me?" "Who are you, Lord?" Saul asked. "I am Jesus, whom you are persecuting," he replied. "Now get up and go into the city, and you will be told what you must do." The men traveling with Saul stood there speechless. They heard the sound, but did not see anyone. Saul got up from the ground, but when he opened his eyes, he could see nothing. So they led him by the hand into Damascus. For 3 days he was blind and did not eat or drink anything. See, Saul was a religious man. He was a religious zealot where actually studied with amongst a lot of the highest scholars in the world. Saul was a man of ego, you could say. Saul knew what was right. He knew in all of his own eyes exactly what he had learned was true, even though it was far from the truth. Saul's story tells me that I may not have a chance like Saul. Jesus might not come down out of clouds and tell me to stop being dumb. But what I do know is that that's why we have the Bible, is so we can learn from those mistakes and change our path in a different direction before it gets to that point, really. I mean, in this single moment, Saul's whole world changed, and he went from a persecutor to a servant, just like that, instantly. He was a man who was just so stuck in his ways. He was a man that he had studied Jesus his whole entire life. All the prophecies that were being told of him, he was studying Jesus while at the same time persecuting him. God can have a powerful impact in all of our lives. And if he can change the heart of a man who was murdering and imprisoning, dragging to prison Christians, and he can change that man's heart like this, he can change anyone's heart. So next time you guys are thinking in your head that you're too nervous because you don't know how your friend's going to react when you talk to them, you think you're going to get made fun of, you think it's not going to be cool, you think you're going to be set apart from those around you, I just want you to think about the impact God can make in that person's life through you. There's a lot of people in this world, especially, I mean, we talked about ChatGPT. Our world's changing really quick. There's a lot of people in this world that need help, right? I've seen a lot of good. I've seen a lot of people being able to share the word online, but I've seen more so a drowning of terrible things. As my hours on my phone, I probably get around, me and Ben compare this because he's going strong right now. He gets about, I don't know, last time he showed me it was like 3 hours of screen time. He goes black and white mode. I get about 8 hours on my phone. I try not to watch videos too much, but I do. I try to watch Christian videos when I'm watching, but they're not all Christian. We fall into this cycle of just being stuck in this world and listening to the world instead of listening to the scriptures and listening to God in general. But the reality is no one's past God's reach. No matter how far the world takes social media and how corrupt it gets, that doesn't have a single match of what God can do to transform people's lives. And I'm just calling you guys, calling myself, calling my peers, I'm calling all of you to just push past and be able to try to bring those around you to Christ, no matter where you're at. Because we're at a youth rally this weekend, but you're going to go back to school next week, right? So that's it. Thank you, guys.